Hey there, YouTube. It's PD with the Ibanez micro bass. These are the strings set I just put on. They're 45, 65, 85, 105. That's the diameter of the string. That's the same diameter as the set of strings that the Ibanez Corporation sells for the micro bass. So if you look at the micro strings, if you don't trust me, we can pop over and I can show you on the internet. Here they are, Ibanez micro bass strings, 45, 65, 85, 105. Now you see here, bass scale 28.6 inches. A full-size bass is 34 inches. That's the measurement between the saddles, where the string starts vibrating, and where the string ends vibrating in the nut. If you measure a full-size bass, 34 inches. Then they have 32-inch basses. They'll go, oh, it's a shorter scale. Then they have 30. That's the short scale bass, the 30. Well, this is 28.6. It's even smaller. And when you look into Ibanez micro basses, the first thing that'll pop up is, well, the strings are a little bit harder to find. So if you entered Ibanez Microville and you're curious about what strings and you're not worried about flat wound strings, a lot of people like flat wound strings on this. Those are Labella deep talking bass flat wounds. There's a part number for that. I forgive me for not knowing, but you can find that. There's a lot of information, people talking in forums about these basses. My goal was to put something on here that would work, that was a round wound, $20 set for 4 bass strings of good quality. And my main concern was these numbers here, 45 to 105. I didn't want to have to play with the nut. If you get the numbers off, if you get the wrong thickness, if they're too big, you have to file this. I didn't want to have to do that. And it can cause tuning stability issues. And so I was worried about plug and play. I just wanted them to buy them for 20 bucks and have them fit. And you say, well, what do you mean by fit? Well, the bass string, it's got an outer winding which makes it thicker, and then there's the inner winding, and on the neck, on the tuning key, they don't want you having the thick part of the string wrapping around the tuner. They want you using the thinner part of the string to go around the tuning peg. And I can show you, these are the strings that came on the bass. Now these are not stock Ibanez strings. If you look at a photograph of an Ibanez micro, it seems to me, and they may not all be like this, but it seems to me typically the end of the string will not be black, it'll be red. And the guy who sold me the bass told me that the strings had been replaced once. He said the guy he bought it from replaced them. He never replaced them. So, as you see here, the string is quite a bit thicker on the silver end where the wrapping is, as it is thin where the black. And this is the area, the black area is supposed to be the part that's wrapped around the tuner. So what I did, I removed each string and I measured them. I put them up against the new string, and I would cut each new string to be the same length as the old. Because when I looked at the job the guy had done, each string would wrap around the post 2 or 3 times perfectly. That's what you want, a 2 or 3 wrap, maybe 4 on the real small one. I've got 4.5 because half of it, one side has 4 times around and the other side has 3. I have 4 and 3 on this. This one is like 3 and 2, and then it's 3 and 3 on the back too. So I measured them. If you want to just lay your strings out, you want to write these numbers down, you can lay your strings out and just cut them as you go. Like 36 and 3/4 or 37 for your low E. 36 and 3/4 for me. A string 39, D string 38 and the G is 37. You could go a little less if you want a little less, halves. But other people will lay it up against the, not measure it out 5, 6 inches, whatever they do, and cut. You all have your own ways of doing it. I figured I'd give you the numbers if you want to be do it that way. You could do it that way. The outer windings of my E end here, so it's like 3/4 of an inch space of gap between where the outer winding ends and the string hits the tuning peg. On my A string, that outer winding terminates about here. Same thing with my D. And my G doesn't have an outer winding. So with the full tension on the, with the strings on, tuned up to concert pitch, the gap, everything looks really good. While I was going through the process, the neck had pulled up a little bit and it looked, there was more of a gap. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to adjust the saddles. But once everything got settled in and I got it tuned back up to pitch, it looks really good. It sounds great. I really like the mix control and single volume modification. And I like these strings on here. There is considerable string noise, so I see why people like to put flats. But these are brand new strings. You know? You give that a month and that string noise is going to be half of what it is now. So I really do like the Ibanez Mikro. The downside of it is people will point and laugh at you for not playing a full-size bass. That's, you know, rock and roll is... People are quick to judge. So playing a little tiny bass, you might you might get some flack. Although my wife loves it. She sounded phenomenal playing this Mikro. It had horrible strings on it, and we made music. We were playing our set of original music that we've written, and she just played like a champ. It really sounded good. So I'm looking forward to hearing how it sounds with the new strings on it. We've got another bass guitar here. It's got a BMW logo in between the pickups. It's a Japanese, it's a Riverhead is the name of the company, Unicorn bass. And that's a headless bass. It's was my first real instrument that I bought for myself. So that's got a special place in my heart. Now that guitar has the same thing. It's got 2 volumes and a tone. So I'm gonna because I've been saying I want to rewire that. I don't like this. So that's what's going to be going on with that bass. We're going to rewire it. I know there's a toggle switch in there, so I can take one of the pickups. I know has a you know what? The toggle switch is probably just going to do nothing. I mean, maybe I'll put it in as a kill switch. But the idea of having 2 volumes and a tone as opposed to having a volume, a blend, and a tone, I really like it. I really like it. So that's the Ibanez Mikro bass. I hope that was helpful to you. Again, I'm not an expert on this thing. We just got it. I don't generally really know what I'm doing. What I can do is read through a bunch of forum posts pretty quickly. I'm good at taking a bunch of posts or information that may not be easy to navigate to. Dig through that rather quickly and form an opinion based on the experience of other people. This is one thing that I am able to do and not hit a point of frustration. I see a lot of people will be like, they don't like Googling stuff because they'll Google it and then they'll just sit and be like, what do I click on? It's like, well, those first 2 things are advertisements. you got to scroll down to a forum where somebody asks the same question that you've asked. Then you have to go through, basically go to the end and see, did he solve this issue? Or are people just being, are they just taking shots at the guy? Because most people will do that. The guy will ask a question, they'll go, why don't you just do this? Well, why are you in this predicament? You should have just bought the other thing. You know, people love to like twist the knife when somebody's down. And one of the blessings of the internet is that you can access helpful information, but the curse is you have to weed through a lot. And part of that weeding skill is to be able to read. I'm sorry, but it seems like most of the guys that I knew that were in rock and roll could not read. Like they just couldn't read. I don't know if they couldn't read because they would hide it. They would never let themselves be put in a position where they had to read out loud or write anything down. There's a lot of those guys where they couldn't read. I don't know if they were too cool for school in first grade, but I can read. That's one skill that I've obtained, and it comes in handy when you're on the internet. You know, it's not just pornography. So, I hope you guys are doing well. If you've got a micro bass, this is a good starting point because they fit the scale length perfectly, and also the diameters of the strings are good. So I'm not here to say Ernie Ball are the best guitar strings in the world. I'm not saying that. I'm saying for this application, these strings fit. They sound good. They feel good. I'm guessing Ernie Ball knows a thing or two about making strings by this point. So I hope that's helpful. Again, if you want to get tape wounds and flat wounds, that's a whole different thing. That's a different path, and I'm not there yet with this bass. So at some point, maybe we'll go down that road. But for now, the Ernie Ball short scale regular slinky bass strings, the 2852 is the set of strings that's on our micro bass. All right, you guys, take care of yourselves, hug your pets, and peace.